Without further ado, we shall welcome the first guest speaker of the night. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a man who I had the pleasure of meeting about a year and a half ago. And it struck me, his smile, his generosity and his humbleness struck me. And it stayed with me. You know, sometimes when you meet people, some people you forget, and some people just stay in your mind for a very, very long time. So this guy I met last year, and I felt very fond of him, especially of his kind nature and his smile. And you'll see who I'm talking about in a couple of seconds. He is a political science student at the University of Michigan. His other studies actually include attending Islamic seminary lessons under the pristine teachers in Dearborn. One of them is his esteemed father. He continues his Islamic studies in the Hawza of Karbala, and he's been honored to be attending the Hawza studies within Karbala as well. Currently, he's focusing his research on dismissing the misconceptions about Islam, particularly in the Quran, and of course is regularly invited to speak at universities and community centers, as well as Islamic institutes and churches in the US and Canada. Please put your hands together and help me in welcoming Sayyid Mohammedhassan Alsheraa.
Thank you, Brother Ali Fadil, for that lovely introduction. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل. Respected scholars, distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, I bid you all the Islamic greeting of Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate you all on this auspicious occasion, the birth of the 8th Imam of Ahlul Bayt, the great-grandson of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, and the greatest scholar, leader, and humanitarian of his time, Imam Ali al-Ridha alayhi salam. Secondly, I'd also like to commend you all for attending this conference, because this is a symbol of the legacy of Imam al-Ridha, for he would be involved with international interfaith dialogue conferences that were inaugurated by the tyrannical ruler at the time, Al-Ma'mun al-Abbasi, as an attempt to defame the Imam, to embarrass the Imam. However, the Imam would take these conferences as opportunistic moments to spread peace and knowledge. That, my dear respected brothers and sisters, is exactly what we should be striving to achieve, because world peace is dependent on education. The more we educate ourselves, the more equipped we become to face any oppressor and challenge them. Imam Ali al-Ridha understood this golden principle 1,200 years ago. Today, more than ever, we must be implementing it. Which leads me to my third point. How much do we know about Imam al-Ridha? When you read the chronicles of Imam al-Ridha, you'll know that the Imam was 55 years old when he was martyred. Everything we have and know about Imam al-Ridha, from his narrations to his dissertations, comes from the last 2 years of his life. The other 53, the books of history are silent on. Why? Because for 53 years the Imam was living in the city of Medina under Abbasid sanctions. He was limited, he wasn't allowed to speak, he was confined, he wasn't allowed to gather with the other followers of Ahlul Bayt, he was restricted, until that same tyrannical ruler, Al-Ma'mun al-Abbasi, as an attempt to cleanse his public image, took the Imam from Medina all the way to modern day Mashhad, forced him into the political sphere by making him his successor. Only then was the Imam finally able to speak and have his voice circulate the globe and ultimately transcend time. And this is a lesson for all of us, that if you are not satisfied with the status quo, how you are being represented in the media, your background, your faith, your people, then become community activists. Be ambitious. Be involved with the affairs of your municipality. If you're not satisfied with the policies that are being implemented by the current administration, run for office. If running for office is not your thing, then support candidates that are running for office who share common values and principles with you. And don't give me none of this, I cannot cooperate with this country nonsense. If Prophet Yusuf can become Minister of Agriculture under a polytheistic government in Egypt, I'm pretty sure God's fine with you casting a vote for the betterment of society. Moreover, our scholars, contemporary and classical, have reached a conclusion that a majority of our theology, aqa'id, comes from the life of Imam al-Rida. How? How does a majority of an entire school's theology come from the last 2 years of an imam's life? Remembering the international interfaith dialogue conferences that the imam would be involved in which we mentioned in the beginning, you find the imam would have civil discourse and dialogue with Christian priests, with Jewish rabbis, with Zoroastrian monks, even with those that didn't acknowledge the existence of God, atheists. And the imam would present his views, the doctrines of the Quran, the philosophy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and his characteristics. These golden texts and dialogues are still with us today and have comprised a majority of our theology. One can only wonder what sanctum full of invaluable wisdom we would have today had the imam in the other 53 years been given a chance to speak. This reflects how he is so greatly seen in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how much we are in debt to him. Which leads me to my fourth and final point, the significance of the ziyarah of Imam Ali al-Rida. There was a very interesting question that was posed to one of our grandest, if not the grandest scholar of the last century. شيخ الفقهاء والمجتهدين آية الله العظمى المرجع الديني الأعلى الإمام الخوئي قدس الله سره وعلى الله مقامه. In his book Munyat as-Sa'il, a collection of Q's and A's, questions and answers, where he is asked, is it true that the ziyarah of Imam al-Rida is greater than the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein in Karbala, or no? As-Sayyid al-Khoui's response, after I read it in his book, left me in a conundrum-like state, confused, almost disorientated. He said, as far as the ziyarah of Imam al-Rida, then it is not greater than the ziyarah of Rasulullah, the Holy Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which is obvious. However, his ziyarah is greater than the other imams, including Imam al-Hussein. How? We were taught that the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein was like no other. The revolution of Imam al-Hussein, yes, Rasulullah did say, كُلُّهُمْ نُورٌ وَاحِدٌ. They are all one light source. Ahlul Bayt are all one illumination. Yes, Imam al-Rida did die a significant death. He was martyred on the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the death of Imam al-Hussein was like no other. And who comes and substantiates that claim? His older brother, Imam al-Hassan al-Mujtaba, years before the events of Muharram occurred, in which he says, لا يوم كيومك يا أبا عبد الله. There will never be a day like your day. Islam was preserved through the revolution and sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein. رحم الله صاحب القول كل ما لدينا من عاشوراء. May Allah send His blessings upon the man that said everything we have is from Ashura. On top of all this, we have a surplus of narrations from the Imams themselves that promote the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein more than any other Imam. So then how is it that the ziyarah of Imam al-Rida is considered greater than the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein? The answer is found in the same exact ziyarah of Imam al-Rida. How does the line go? مولاي أنت الذي لا يزورك إلا الخواص من الشيعة. My master, you are the one who visit you, only the exclusive from the followers of Ahlul Bayt. What does this incline? That all Muslims have reverence and will make the extra effort to visit Imam Ali in Najaf. A majority of Muslims have reverence and will make the extra effort to visit Imam al-Hussein in Karbala. A fraction of Muslims have reverence and will make the extra effort to visit Imam Musa al-Kadhim in Kadhimiyya, modern day Baghdad. Only a true Shi'i Ithnay Ashari has enough reverence and will make the extra effort to visit Imam Ali ibn Musa al-Ridha all the way in Mashhad, where you have a complete theology, a complete aqeedah, where you don't just stop with Imam Ali, or you don't just stop with Imam al-Hussein, or you don't just stop with Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhum as-salam, but rather you recognize the Imams of Ahlul Bayt are all vicegerents of Allah and represent Him and epitomize Him for man and womankind. And this is why we ask Allah to grant us His ziyarah in this life and His shafa'ah in the afterlife. However, many of us are not able to visit the Imam right now in Mashhad due to restrictions, due to limitations, whatever the situation may be. Therefore, with all that being said, my dear respected brothers and sisters, let's raise our hands now and send our salams to this great man, Ali ibn Musa al-Ridha, from Dearborn, Michigan, all the way to Mashhad, by reciting all together. Assalamu alayka ya Abal Hasani, ya Ali ibn Musa al-Ridha, ayyuha al-Radhi bil-Qadari wal-Qadha, ya Shamsa al-Shumus, wa ya Anis al-Nufus, ayyuha al-Madfuna bi-Ardi طوس ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين على